Good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video every single morning to help you catch up with things that you might have missed out on whilst you were catching up on some all-important rest. Because let's face it, whilst you and I and the whole world really needs sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. There's always something or the other going on, right? So without further ado, let's check in and check out things that you might have missed out on whilst you were catching up on sleep, starting with a massive retirement that many people were expecting to happen. Australian cricketer Usman Khawaja has announced his retirement from all forms of cricket. Now, why I say that people saw it coming was because there was talks that he would be looked past after this particular series, and then when it was announced that ahead of the fifth test at the Sydney Cricket Ground, his own home venue, that he would be addressing a press conference, it was known that he would probably be doing it to announce his retirement, and that's exactly what he's done. Nevertheless, he leaves a pretty good career behind, having played 88 tests, potentially once he's done with the last one, and scored a fair few runs, also becoming, of course, the first player of Asian descent to have represented Australia. So a massive breakthrough for him in that regard. Congrats, Usman, on what was a very, very good career. Speaking of Pakistan, and this is not in any way related to the Australian team, Jason Gillespie, their former test coach, has opened up a bit of a can of worms when talking about the way he was treated during his time as their coach and why it is that he suddenly chose to resign. Taking to Twitter on a Q&A, he said that the fact that one of his coaches was sacked arbitrarily by the PCB with him not being informed or consulted in any way did not sit right with him, and that's why he chose to quit the job. In fact, it's not the first time he's spoken about this. Even previously, he's put out plenty of criticisms of the PCB, including, of course, the fact that at one point there was supposed to be some sort of a meeting happen amongst all coaches. So that included him and Gary Kirsten, who, lest we forget, at that point in time was their white ball head coach. So both of them flew to Pakistan from Australia and South Africa respectively. And the PCB's own chief, Mohsin Naqvi, who lived in Lahore, 20 minutes away from the meeting of where it was supposed to happen, chose to join via Zoom. It was not something that sat right with him. So plenty, obviously, to unpack there when it comes to Gillespie's unhappy tenure at Pakistan. And another team that has been in a bit of unrest, truth be told, is the English team. And there's been a lot of rumors about the future of head coach Brendon McCullum. We know he's now been made their all-format coach, but losing the Ashes in the manner that he has does often lead to heads rolling, and the coach is always the one held most accountable. Now, whilst there's been no suggestion yet from sources within the ECB that they're looking to sack Baz, it is interesting to note that CEO Richard Gould has joined Chairman Richard Thompson at Sydney. So it could very well just be a case of them taking a debrief once the series is done, or just to have casual conversations, but it's certainly perked up a lot of ears. That being said, there are also noises coming out that they're not going to do anything rash ahead of the T20 World Cup. So McCullum may be safe for now, but who really knows how it is that things turn out in the long term. Another bit of news, and this one more positive. Damien Martyn, the former Australia batter, had been admitted to hospital after battling a bout of meningitis and was even placed in an induced coma. Well, his former teammate and one of his better friends, Adam Gilchrist, has now put out an update saying that there are positive signs. He didn't reveal too much. He said, but over the past 24 hours, there have been positive signs. So that's a positive thing, and one really hopes that Martyn gets better soon and is back up on his feet sooner rather than later. One more bit of cricket news, and this centers a man who has been making all of the right noises in Indian domestic cricket, Sarfaraz Khan. Obviously, Sarfaraz recently got picked in the IPL by CSK and has responded by showing improved form even in white ball cricket. And that is something that has left Dilip Vengsarkar baffled, in the sense that he shows form across formats yet continues to be ignored by the Indian team. And he's backed him to actually continue to do well and eventually put those doubters to rest. Obviously, Sarfaraz's ignorance we've covered a lot in the past when it comes to why it is that he's being snubbed. And there were supposedly off-field reasons, but the kind of form he's showing at this point in time makes him very hard to ignore, especially in Test cricket. But if he has a good IPL, who really knows how it is that things will look from there onwards. Switching our focus from the world of cricket to football, and New Year's Day saw a lot of Premier League matches take place, but not very great ones. There were two 0-0 draws. One was Man City drawing 0-0 to Sunderland. The other was Liverpool drawing 0-0 to Leeds United. The City result plays a bigger role in terms of the title race, because again, if City had ended up winning that match, then they would have been just 2 points behind Arsenal, who currently top the table. Unfortunately for them, what has happened is that they're now 4 points behind. Still plenty of games to go, of course, and there's a packed schedule still to go in the second half of the year. But For City, the signs aren't looking good. Arsenal, the signs are looking very good. As for Liverpool, it put them in a rather rare feat that they have actually now recorded 2 0-0 draws against Leeds United this season, which is a rare feat. So it means that Leeds have gone both home and away games without actually conceding a goal against Liverpool. Of course, they haven't scored a goal either, but Liverpool are the defending champions and Leeds are potentially in a relegation battle. So they'll take any positive that they can get. Another bit of football news in the world of football was pretty stunned by the fact that Enzo Maresca, the former Chelsea manager, now former because he was sacked, ended up getting the sack on New Year's Day. It's something that doesn't really happen, but it was happening because, well, there was such a deterioration of relationships. Not a decision I agree with, but it's happened. And one of the favorites apparently to replace him is Liam Rossinier. Now, if you haven't heard of him, he's the manager of Strasbourg, a club in France who have been punching well above their weight in recent times and who also coincidentally happen to be owned by Blueco, the same company that owns Chelsea. They've formed some sort of a multi-club model themselves in recent years. And the fact that they'd be considering the Strasbourg manager to then come into Chelsea does make a little bit of sense, considering they have used Strasbourg as a bit of a feeder to actually send some of their top players there to get game time, get loan experience as well. Rossinier, of course, isn't the only candidate, but he is one of the leading candidates according to multiple reports. There's also Indian football news, and this one, truth be told, is news that none of us would really be surprised by. We had reported yesterday that the ISL clubs were not willing to take any kind of financial responsibility for restarting the league, which will of course be truncated. But now they have apparently sought clarity, and that includes on 5 major points from the AIFF ahead of committing to play in the shortened league, which does make sense considering there is still a lot of uncertainty around the league. And even if they play the shortened edition this year, they'd still need a commercial partner like what FSDL was to continue to ensure that the league is run in subsequent seasons. So the fact that they are trying to take some sort of accountability from the AIFF is good. Doubly so when you consider that under the new constitution, it is mandated that the AIFF must own the league. So basically what the clubs are doing is taking accountability from the people who will be owning and of course operating the league. Last bit of news, and this one comes from the Australian Open. The first Grand Slam of 2026 will be starting off soon, and Venus Williams will be a part of it because she has been handed a wild card. Now you must remember that Venus did in fact also participate in the US Open to end last year. She was given a wild card for that too, and at 45 her comeback is inspirational. I don't think anyone's expecting her to win the title, but the fact that she's still playing shows that she still has got the love and passion. And of course, she came back from a life-threatening potential disease to actually be back on the court. Inspirational stories at the least. It'll be very interesting to see how it is she does in the Australian Open. But that's it from us in this edition of the Morning Wrap. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, if you enjoy our work, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, follow us on social media too. We're on Instagram, X and Facebook, and stay tuned for more such updates from the world of sport.